Et comment ça va les baguettes? If you've been, well, alive for the past weeks or even months, you've probably seen a video on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, Snapchat, maybe not the last ones, but you know, you should definitely follow me there. I know. Smooth. But you have probably heard or seen the video counting to 100 in French with a NYC cabbie. If you were dead and now back to life but haven't seen the video yet, well, let me give you a quick summary of it. Basically, the guy is so impressed about French and how we're able to master such a complex and beautiful language that he called us, and I mean, we all already knew that, but it's always nice to take a compliment, gods. And yeah, that's pretty much the only thing that I remember from the video. And no, I'm absolutely not biased. I don't see what you're talking about. Oh no, I do remember another thing. He also said something like the fact that counting in French was a bit F up. And I was like, what? But then I remembered that, you know, we are gods. So obviously what seems easy for us might not be for regular people. So today I'm going to answer to his video by explaining to you why do we count the way we count. I hope you'll enjoy! So first off, he's talking about the fact that French numbers are quite easy at the beginning, from 1 to 16, which is actually true, and then he starts saying our numbers, so 1, 2, 3, 4. But I mean, I can't blame him, you know. 4, there's a French R, beautiful language. And then he's saying that after 16, so says, well, the numbers are going rogue, there's no number for 17, and it goes 10, 7, 10, 8, 10, 9, 17, 18, 19. And that's actually true. Why do we go 17, 18, 19 instead of... I actually don't have words for it. But that's because of Latin roots. The ancestry of French and also other languages like Italian, Spanish, Romanian, and so on is Latin. Why am I talking about all those languages? Well, basically because all the languages with Latin roots at one point goes rogue when they are counting. In Italian, 17 is 17, so 17. And actually, we're not even the worst because Spanish is going rogue even earlier with 16 for 16. At least we had says. But why? Well, basically, because evolution. Normal evolution. When you look at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, that's basically the Latin roots contracted. So 11 in Latin was undecim, and decim has been contracted to the throughout time, and so undecim becomes 11, duodécime, 12, tredécime becomes 13, etc. and etc. But that doesn't explain why it's 17, 18, 19. And to understand that, we need to look at 18 and 19 first. Because 18 and 19 are just simplifications of the actual Latin roots. In Latin, for 18 and 19, the numbers became subtractive. This means that to say 18 and 19, you had to say 20 minus 1 and 20 minus 2. And you know, people who are working on mathematics, so people who don't really have a life, decided that it was a bit too complicated, so they had to simplify this by saying in an addition kind of way, which became the 18, 19. 10 plus 8, 10 plus 9. But then you might ask, why does it start with 10, 7 then? And we have no clue about that. Okay, so then we return to the video and he's like 20, that's okay, 20, then 21, 22, 23, etc. Wait, we are not saying 21, we say 20 and 1, why? And then he's saying that we're actually okay until 69. Okay, I see this point, however, there's one mistake, is that we're going like easy on all the numbers until 69, but not really, because we are saying 20 and 1, but also 30 and 1, 40 and 1, 50 and 1. Basically, everything that is 1 is with end. But the truth is that, historically speaking, there's an end with everything. In French, when you're looking at numbers, every single composed number that doesn't have an end has an hyphen. So even though you don't say 20 et 2, but 22, it's 20 hyphen 2. And this hyphen is equal to an end. So basically, even though you don't hear it, don't see it, don't know it's here, well, well, it's still here. So technically, without the hyphen, that would be 20 and 2, 20 and 3, 20 and 4, and so on. But you might ask, why didn't we put the hyphen between the 20 and 1 to say 21, 21? And that's because, and it's one of several theories, 1 is the only number that starts with a vowel. Meaning that it's the only number that when you will have to make the link, because you know, in French we link words together, it will sound like a single word and you might not understand what the other person is saying. If you just go 21, 31, 41, 51, you're not sure where there's a stop between the words. While when you're saying 52, there is really 50, which is 50, 2, 2. And you might say, okay Ernest, but why do we say 81 then, and not 81? That's really true, my young baguette. And that's because we want everything to be easy. I know, that sounded like a joke, but that's the truth. If there is a, there should not be any hyphens, and vice versa. And when you say 80, there's a hyphen there. So you don't want to put something different than a hyphen after that. So you see, we want you to be able to understand French. We made everything to make a complex language easier to understand. And then he goes, what comes after 69? 70. Not in France, because in France we like to make everything easy. But as we're a bit clumsy, you know, it becomes harder. And to perfectly understand why we are saying 70, you need to also look at 80 and 90. Historically speaking, there are two ways of counting. The first one is the decimal way of counting. That's the one that we are all using, like most of us are using, which is counting from 1 to 10, and that's using both your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the second one, the Vigesimal system, that was used by the Celts, the Vikings, but also the Mayans, and that is using every single of our fingers and toes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12... up to 20, and as you probably know, or not, but France was highly influenced by the Celt culture, because there were Celts everywhere in France. And because of that, we used to count using the Vigesimal system. So early on in France, instead of saying 30, which is 30, we used to say 20, 2010. Or instead of saying 40, 40, we said 20. 220. I knew I forgot something, hence the new setup. But what you didn't know, or maybe you did, but I don't know, is the fact that in English you did use the Vigesimal system also. It was a really formal way of counting, and the most famous time it was used was in a Lincoln speech, when he said 7 years ago. Score is a way of saying 20, and so what Lincoln said was 87 years ago, while saying 7 years ago. 4 times 20, 7 years ago. 87 years ago. And yeah, that's it. That's the end of the brackets. Let's return to the video. The original one. Another country who's still using the Vigesimal system, and you didn't know about that because you were too busy bitching about French, but sorry. But that's the Denmark, and that's more because of the Viking influence than the Celts, but yeah, they are also using this. In fact, in Danish, to say 50 and 60, you just say heltres and tres. Or something like that. I don't know Danish. And you might say, yeah, and? Well, and those are contractions of... I don't know how to say them in Danish, but basically translated that would be half the third of 3 times 20 and 3 times 20. So 50 and 60. And to that you might say, yeah, okay, but at least Danish are straight in their boots. And it's a French expression, so I'm not sure it works in English, but basically at least Danish are keeping the Vigesimal system from the beginning to the end. And to that I will answer true, but we're kind people, you know, we like to please everyone. So Latin roots, they're just like, yeah, we're using decimals, and we're like, yeah, okay, let's do that. Then the Celts, hey, we're using Vigiesimals, and we're like, yeah, let's do that. And in the end, you know, we want to please everyone, and we end up pleasing nobody. And also, technically speaking, it's much easier, no, believe me, in terms of education, because when you're trying to educate children, you know, you want them to learn how to multiply things. For us, they are able to say that 80 is not only 8, 10, but 80 is also 4 times 20. And you see, that's being like true masters of not only the language, but also mathematics. That's something great, that's something, you know, it's godlike. And so that's why it's French. All that to say that this guy was completely right. French are gods. Putain! And this is the end of why are French numbers so fucked up. And the truth is that it's just because it's a melting pot. So like French language, we're just like melting things in a pot, and yeah, I hope you liked the video. If you did, don't forget to put a thumbs up, share the video, subscribe to my channel. Go follow me on all my social medias, even though I'm absolutely not posting anything on my social medias recently. And by recently, I mean in the past few years. You can also support me on Patreon for the exact same reason as following me on my social medias, because I don't post anything there, so I will not bother you. And no matter what happens, I will see you in my next video. Have an amazing, wonderful day. Don't forget to smile, and bye-bye! So when you think about it, to make French numbers more logical, you just need to change 17, 18, 19 to septants, octants, nonants, and 70, 80, 90 to septants, octants, nonants. And that's it. We need to reform this. Where is my yellow jacket and baguette? I need to go on strike. Allons enfants de la patrie.